Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In this session, we shall study some of the directives which Islam has given to eradicate the institution of slavery which existed at the time of the revelation of the Quran. It is absolutely a stigma in the face of Islam to attribute slavery to it. Islam actually adopted a very gradual process to eradicate slavery, which it actually inherited. There were scores of slave men and women found in every household, and they were an integral part of the social and economic life of Arabia. And freeing them instantaneously would have actually resulted in they becoming dependent and a financial burden on the society. And men perhaps would have been forced to take to slavery, and women would have been forced to take to prostitution to earn for their livelihood. Precisely for this reason, Islam adopted a very gradual process to eradicate this inhuman institution. And amongst the various steps and measures it adopted was that, firstly, in the early Meccan surahs, it made an appeal, a very earnest, a sincere appeal to Muslims to liberate the necks, and the words it used were fakku rakaba, release the necks, which has a very strong appeal to the Muslims to liberate slaves which they might have in their household. Secondly, Muslims were urged to treat slaves as long as they were not liberated and they were with them in the same manner as they treated their own selves. Therefore, they should clothe them in the manner they clothed themselves, and they should feed them in the manner they fed themselves. And also, they must not burden them with a task which is beyond their capacity. Thirdly, in some crimes such as unintentional murder and in zihar, liberating a slave was actually a part of the atonement of this crime. And fourthly, it was also said that the slave men and women who have the ability to marry, they must be wedded off. They must be married off so that gradually they would become morally and socially equivalent to the other members of the society. In this regard, the fifth measure which was adopted by the Quran was that Muslim men were urged to marry slave Muslim women as long as they were chaste, if they had no means or option to marry free women. And they were also directed to pay dower to these Muslim chaste slave women so that these women should become of the same status as that of free women. The sixth directive given this regard was that it was a head fixed in the zakat, in the public zakat fund, in which this head was to be used to liberate slaves, so that an impetus could be given from the public treasury to this whole campaign of slave emancipation. In this regard, the seventh directive which was given was that fornication was regarded as a crime, and we know that in those times prostitution was rampant, and prostitutes were basically slave women, and since fornication was regarded as a crime, it was actually the objective was to put an end to this institution. The eighth directive given in this regard was to change the psyche of Muslims towards slave men and women, and they were actually directed to change the names by which they called slave men and women. They were called by Abd and Amma, and these names were replaced by Fata and Fatat, which obviously means a boy or a girl or a man or a woman, so that the whole psyche regarding slave men and women should change. And in this regard, the ninth directive which was given was that since prisoners of war was a very great source of the institution of slavery, Muslims were directed to release all prisoners of war, whether on ransom or whether without ransom, and they had no other option. And finally, the 10th directive, which perhaps was the pinnacle of these directives, was that the slave men and women were, if they wanted to make a contract with their masters, and by virtue of this contract, they would prove that they would be financially independent in the society and would not become a burden on the society, then it was essential that the masters of these slave men and women make this contract with them, which is actually called mukatabat, and through them, it was actually confirmed, and it was actually materialized that slavery would no longer exist in this manner. These then were the directives which the Quran gave and Islam gave at its own time in order to eradicate this inhuman institution of slavery. And it would be absolutely preposterous to say that Islam actually encourages slavery in any manner. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.